Blog Talk Radio.
yes, this is another episode of Wake Up African People, and we are honored tonight to have the great Dr. Walter Williams, historian. Dr. Williams has been on the scene for a while now. He's been studying and putting things together for our people to get knowledge and knowledge of self and religions and all these things that they have us trapped in. And we are so glad to have him here tonight. And he's one of my favorites on YouTube, his books. I mean, the man is just phenomenal in his research, yeah. He has the dates, everything that he says. You can go back and reference it and research it. He ain't into that hocus-pocus teachings. He lays it right straight down to you if you really want it. And we tried our people being all trapped up in these crazy religions and everything, and we got our face down to the ground where everybody else is looking up to the future. It's time for us to get up off our knees and stop worshiping these foreign gods and worship our togetherness, unity, and brotherhood like all races do. We are here with Queen Tiket Aminet and my other host, Astro Black, and we have some questions for the doc. We're going to ask our questions first of all so we can get them out the way so the doc can keep on flowing, so we don't want to stop them. Put your earphones on and listen very clearly. Queen Tiket Aminet, the mic is yours to ask them your first three questions, and then you go Astro Black, and I'm after you.
Okay. Hotep, Dr. Williams.
May I have Hotep? Always put the female in there. Don't say just Hotep by itself, because Hotep is male, and Maat is female, so we have to have cosmic balance. So when we address our African community, we must say Maat Hotep. See, they get the Q in there, sister.
Thank you. Maat Hotep.
Thank you. Maat Hotep, sister.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure talking with you this evening. I mean, I truly, truly admire your work. I admire all that you do. I was listening to some of your speeches on YouTube, and I noticed that you had mentioned that African people here in America should call themselves ancient Egyptian and not Egyptian.
Correct.
Okay. So is that true even when Africans here in America came from all over the continent of Africa? Can you just kind of explain that a little bit more to me? And I have a two-part question. I have another part question, too.
Okay. Well, first thing, you got to understand that the enslaved African taken out of Africa and brought over to this country in 1619, prior to them coming over in 1619, landing in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and St. Augustine, Florida. You also had, before they got here, you also had the Moors over here. The Moors came with supposed Christopher Columbus in 1492. So when the enslaved Africans came over here, brought over here by the slave traders in 1619 in this hemisphere of North America, the Moors and the indigenous Africans brought over from Africa was all put up under one umbrella, and they were labeled Negroes, blacks, and African Americans. African Americans came later when Jesse Jackson suggested to the white media in this country that we should be called African Americans. So you got to remember this: you have 40 or more million of us Africans living in the United States of America, and you have to put them under one name, which they all were under one name, are under one name, which is Negro black. See, Negro and black means the same thing. Black, Negro is synonymous, and then African Americans and so forth and so on. So that's number one, that do not separate individual Africans in this country. Say, well, I came from Nigeria. My people came from West Africa. I came from this part of Africa. Then there's confusion there. So we all are under one name and identified under one name in this country, which is those names I just mentioned you. But those names only take you back to slavery. Those names, you cannot be cannot find them on the world map of human geography. There's no Negro land. There's no black land. There's no African American land. So what you're talking about when you use those names and identify yourself with those names, you're identifying yourself as being your ancestors being enslaved in America only. You see, and once a year they give us a Black History Month, so you can talk about the achievements of those Africans who lived in this country, who achieved certain status and certain things that they did while in this country. So we have to go beyond the wall of slavery, and when you go beyond the wall of slavery, you should head towards ancient Egypt, which is very, very important. Like over there today, if you turn the television on, you see Egyptians over there. Those are Europeans. Those are settlers. Those are occupiers over there. They're not the indigenous. The indigenous people that built that great culture and civilization that we know as ancient Egypt were Africans. They are Africans. They still are Africans. And they left us an immortal legacy that we, as an African people, we have to claim that in order to claim our greatness. Our greatness is lying unclaimed in the continent of Africa, in Egypt, you see. And our ancestors built not only the Great Pyramid, they built the Sphinx. The body of the Sphinx is one city block long, 6 stories high, and they put an African face on there, on that Sphinx, to let you and the whole entire world know who they are. I didn't say were. They still are. And that African face is an African. We are African people. So we have to claim our greatness. And so in order to do that, we have to know what names that we are calling ourselves, because every name that you call yourself, there's a history attached to it. And the history that's attached to Negro, Black, and African American is just what I just explained to you. So we have to find our way back to ancient Egypt and call ourselves African ancient Egyptians in order to distinguish us from those Egyptians over there who are, as you see on the television, who has white faces and all types of a mixture of non-African people. So we have to distinguish ourselves by saying we are an African ancient Egyptian. You see, that's my answer to you. What's your other question?
Okay, thank you. And well, the white men, when they invaded Egypt, before they invaded Egypt, I mean, it was called the land of Kemet, right?
Well, you talking about Egypt? You're talking about?
Yes, Egypt.
Well, see, the name Kemet supposedly means the land of the black, or black land. Okay? And then the argument in the African community is that the word Kemet is a Greek name. All right, now you got to understand that when Alexander the Greek came into Egypt in 332 BCE, he forced the Greek language on our Melkite Coptic Egyptians, okay? And they learned that language. And when asked, who are you, they used that language to answer them. So they coined the name Egypt or Egyptos for themselves. And then you ask people a little further. You go a little further and ask people, say, where are you getting the word Kemet from? Well, they say, some say they're getting it from the hieroglyphics. So when you look at the hieroglyphics, which are pictorial symbols drawn by our ancestors during the time of antiquity, Melanesian hieroglyphics, you cannot put an alphabet to a symbol. So they're saying that the drawing of a basket means K. And they're saying the drawing of the owl, O-W-L, bird, means M. They're saying that the loaf of bread, picture of a bread, loaf of bread, means T, and KMT means Kemet, you see. So you get all types of different ideas and rationale of why we should use Kemet. They're saying that the ancient Egyptians call themselves Kemet. Well, I disagree with that. I said that the Coptic Egyptians, after learning the Greek language, coined for themselves the name Egyptos or Egyptus, you see. So, and now, back again, the word Kemet means black land or land of the blacks. So I go a little further. Let's move it to this perspective. The continent of Africa is named after a European. Is that correct? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So now, instead of using the name Africa to describe the whole entire continent of Africa, I say use and call that continent Kemet, because it means the land of the black or black land, and all over Africa. Africa itself is a African continent of dark-skinned people. You see? So you can call that the land of the black or Kemet. So that's where I'm at today with that. That's my answer to you.
Okay, very interesting. And my last question to you is, can you tell us who was Ptolemy the First Sotar?
Yeah, Ptolemy was the successor of Alexander the Greek. The Greeks invaded Egypt in 332 BCE under Alexander's leadership. And Alexander died 9 years later, 323. BC dates you count down as opposed to the dates that we use today, whereby the dates that we use today we count up. So next year we had 214 now, 2014, so next year will be 2015, and the following year will be 2016, and so forth and so on. So he was the successor of the Diadochi, as in Greek terms, which means successor of Alexander. So he was named Ptolemy I, called Ptolemy I Lagi, called Sotar. The word Soter means savior. You see, and that goes into another history, another teaching, which is attached to that name, and you'll find that title of Savior is attached to this Jesus the Christ today. So Ptolemy was a Greek successor of Alexander the Greek. After Alexander came into Egypt in 332, he lived 9 years, and he died 323, and he was successor of Alexander. That's who Ptolemy is. And then you had 14 consecutive Ptolemies after the death of Ptolemy I Lagi. After that, so and all you have 14 Greek Ptolemies that control and occupy Egypt. That's my answer.
Okay. Thank you so much for that.
No problem.
Truth Doctor.
Okay. Astro Black, ask them your questions. Your three questions at a time.
Right on. Actually, I only have 2 questions for now, but they're kind of thick. So, thank you, Honorable Dr. Williams. How are you, sir? Thank you for coming here and gracing us with your presence.
Well, thank you for inviting me, brother, and I certainly appreciate you and your work that you're doing.
Right on. And I wanted to. I love your lectures. You spoke a lot about the long-term process of mind control and subversion that the European white supremacist invaders have used in order to undermine our societies and our communities, and most importantly the use of Uncle Toms as infiltrators, like the Coptic Egyptians who came up with the Serapis image in the false deity in the European image. And throughout your lectures, you talk about the different white supremacist protocols that they use in order to enforce domination upon our people, which include but not are excluded to the implantation of co-conspirators from within our people that look like us, namely Uncle Toms, or and also they destroy our authentic record and confiscate our artifacts. They create and recreate falsehoods in their own image, and they use psychological and trauma-based warfare and mind control against our people. Fast forwarding to your observations now in the present day, what are some of the pervasive techniques employed, in your opinion, by the global white supremacist apparatus that you observe today that are used to undermine unity and self-awareness and justice among our African people?
Okay. Well, the answer to that is this, Brother Black, is this. The church is doing that. And the ministers out there who are our number one enemy, he isn't for the system that you've just been talking about. So the system encourages and helps the ministers in these churches to do just that. In other words, they're the ones who are blocking our progress on purpose, and they don't even know that. Out of ignorance, they're doing that. Some of them, most of them are. But that's where the problem lies right now. We have to divest ourselves from all religions, no matter what name or what practice of religion that you may practice. We have to divest ourselves from all religions. So the problem is, in our community, is religion and kept in place and enforced by these misguided ministers. You take the church, and you look at the church like a slave plantation. The head of the church, of all Christian churches, is Jesus the Christ. That's the head of all Christian churches. The head of the slave plantation is old Massa, the owner of the slave plantation. Okay? So old Massa and Jesus is one of the same. Now, though Massa, on his slave plantation, he had overseers to keep the slaves in order and run the plantation for old Massa. So the minister is taking the overseer's place. He's running the church the same way. And the slaves are sitting out in the pews of this church, of all churches, because they're the slaves. Their minds have been taken away from them. They're out of their minds practicing this religion or any type of religion. They don't know who they are. And so they give away all of their power to this dead white man on the cross that don't even look like them. They give away all their power to a Bible that one has to believe in order to make it work. And they give away all their religious power to a belief, which in these various religions, in the Bible, in this dead white man on the cross, in Allah, in Islam alaikum, in Islam, and Black Hebrew Israelitism, Judaism, and all the rest of the religions that are created by man. So all religions are kept together by one's belief and faith. Without believing in these various religions will collapse. So getting back to the minister of these churches are our enemy, and they're the ones that's keeping this Western system together that is detrimental against us. So that's where the problem lies, and that's my answer to you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a thorough answer, of course. And for the last one, bear with me on this one. I peeped some of your literature and your lectures, and you talked about as a jazz musician yourself that you were thoroughly inspired and enlightened by none other than Sun Ra in your youth. When you played with him, you said in Chicago, correct?
Correct.
And
I didn't play in the orchestra now. I didn't play that type of music. We played contemporary jazz music, such as How High the Moon, what is this thing called Love, Body and Soul, Stardust, stuff like that, you know.
Phenomenal. And I find myself, I'm a student of Sun Ra too, musically and philosophically. I mean, the name Astro Black actually comes from a Sun Ra album. So I've been a long-term follower of the philosophy and the mind-expanding consciousness. And, I know a lot of people ask you about your journey and your process. And I found it refreshing and enlightening that me and you had that comment in that Sun Ra, who was a band leader, a piano player, a poet, and a philosopher, was a trailblazer and a spiritual sage and pioneer of mind-expanding African musical art forms. And he was an innovator in a sort of outer space, galactic kind of acid jazz music. And I pulled out a quote from him just to give some of our audience an insight on what he was like. And from an old interview, I peeped him, and this is the quote directly. He said on the topic of his art, his jazz inspiration, he said, a lot of musicians said that outer space jazz was too far out for people. It's really not. They had the wrong impression about people. They only underestimate their intelligence. I realized that people got feelings, and I restored their feelings, not their minds, because they've been brainwashed. So why should I try and reach something that is brainwashed? But their spirit hasn't been brainwashed, and it's pure. And that's a profound statement. He's talking about the brainwashing that people have suffered throughout countless generations on a global scale, but most profoundly it's directed at our people who are the children of the sun and the founders of global civilizations all over the world. So with that in mind, Dr. Williams, could you be so kind as to describe or share some of your personal reflections on the musical and or philosophical influences that Sun Ra had upon you in your development and as a seeker yourself of profound truth?
Well, the thing that Sun Ra inspired me on, I was about 18 years old, 18 going on 19, just out of high school. I had graduated from high school, and I met Sun Ra, and because I was, like I said before, I played the saxophone, and I began to gig around Chicago and so forth. So I met Sun Ra during that time. That was in the late 40s, early 50s, you know. So the thing that I was seeking, and I had been seeking for a number of years, way back when I was in grammar school, I never accepted the idea or the name that we were called Negroes. I never accepted that we were Negroes. So I said, well, as a boy, I said, we got to be greater than a Negro. So I have to find out who we are as a people. So therefore, if I find out who we are, then I'll find out who I am. So anyway, that went on until I came in contact with Sun Ra right out of high school. And Sun Ra, the thing that he impressed on me and the other guys that came around him, like I said before, Sun Ra was old enough to be our father at this time. And the thing that really stuck with me is that he said that we, as a people, an African people, were the greatest people that has ever walked this earth. We are descendants of the greatest people that has ever walked this earth, known to us today in history as the ancient Egyptians, and that really stuck with me. Okay? So that's the most profound thing that I could come up with at this time, because as I studied many years after that, after coming into Italy, after, let's say, 20-some odd years after Sun Ra told me that, going into Italy, and the tour guide on the bus in Rome said, and when the Romans came to Egypt to receive their civilization, and my whole body just illuminated. And I said, well, wow. I said, if these Europeans came to ancient Egypt to receive their civilization, I need to know more about the ancient Egyptians than I do now, which I didn't know anything. So I decided to get me a magnifying glass when I got back to America. And I got me every pictorial book that was depicting ancient Egyptians in these particular pictorial books. And what I was doing with my magnifying glass was looking into the faces of these Africans being depicted, or these ancient Egyptians being depicted in this book as ancient Egyptians. I wanted to find out, did they look like me? Did I look like them? Did they look like us as an African people? And once I convinced myself of that, I was on my way. Because after that, I was on the quest, on the quest at that time, to find out everything I can about history, and every history book I could find, I got and bought it, and I began to study and start piecing all this stuff together. And eventually I got an ancient Egyptian museum that I put and brought forth in March 11, 1990 in Chicago. I bought a mansion and converted it into a museum, and I kept that museum open for 11 years until we closed it in 2001. So that was one of the most profound things that really turned my life around, when he said that we were descendants of the greatest people that's ever walked this earth, known to us today in history of the ancient Egyptians. And I put it into my subconscious mind, and I didn't act on it for about 22 years after that. And in Italy, when it was awakened again, and that's when that light came on, boom, and I've been on the quest ever since. So I would say that is the most profound thing.
Right on. Thank you very much, brother. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Okay, you're welcome.
So that's it for you, Brother Astro, on the questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, my question to the great doctor is, it took 921 years it took to get Serapis on the Godhead. Was Serapis on the Godhead longer than his Serapis of the day we call Jesus? Which one was on the Godhead the longest? Has this one beat him out yet?
Well, let me explain this to you, Brother Akbar. You read my Historical Origin of Islam book, right?
No, I haven't read that one, but I read the first one.
Okay,
I've seen the tape.
Now, when you say 921 years,
yes.
Okay. See, 921 years, that was an argument or polemic between the Melkite Coptic Egyptians, which are the Uncle Tom of antiquities, I call them, the bourgeois of antiquity, and the Monophysites. Those are two factions, the Monophysites and the diaphysitic Melkite Coptic Egyptians. Now, the Monophysites, we're talking about Serapis now. The Monophysites, who are the grassroots Coptic Egyptian members of the secular community in Egypt and in Turkey. See, Turkey is Northeast Africa. Today it's called the Middle East, but it's still Northeast Africa. You can change the name, but you can't change and pick up the countries over there in Northeast Africa and change that. You can't do that. But anyway, it was the Monophysites and arguing with and against the Melkite Coptic Egyptians, what they did. Now, the Monophysites said that this Serapis image that's known today as Christ, or Jesus the Christ, had an Osiris-like spirit, but no human nature. That's the argument that went on for 921 years. Okay? So that began at the Council of, actually before that time, it began when Ptolemy I Lagi was given the attributes in 320 BC by the Coptic Egyptian priest and priestess in Memphis, Egypt, in 320 BC. Okay? And because the Greeks knew in order to control and rule Egypt, they had to be accepted into the ancient Egyptian priest society or sacred society. And so they wanted to be admitted in there. But our Coptic Egyptian Africans in the secular community refused to allow them in because ancient Egyptians did not race mix with other races of people. They didn't do that. So it was Ptolemy, after Alexander died, he tried to get himself admitted into that priest-society, and it was refused also. So he went and found a priest-society in Memphis, Egypt, who took two of their deities, Osiris and Apis, the bull representative of Ra, and came out with a composite name of O-Serapis. And they gave that title or that name to Ptolemy I Lagi, called Soter, S-O-T-E-R, means Savior. And that's how this Ptolemy got, let's say, the attributes of Osiris and Apis, of Osiris, you see. And so that was in 320. So we're going to, and what they tried to do, once that was done, this Ptolemy and all the rest of the succeeding Ptolemies after that tried to get our African people living in the secular community to accept this image of Ptolemy into their society, into their sacred society, to be set aside alongside of Osiris. In other words, they wanted to go into the temples and see themselves represented along with Osiris. Okay, that didn't happen. So since it didn't happen, he closed down all the temples all over Egypt. And our ancestors, the Coptic Egyptians, used their homes to home train their children and to continue their high form of civilization. So we're going to modulate all the way up to the time of the Council of Nicaea 325. From the 320 BC up to 325, and if you want to call it AD, I don't use the word AD, but to keep it where you can understand what I'm talking about, 325 AD, you're talking about a time of 645 years until the time of the Council of Nicaea 325. You see? So there was three things that caused the Council of Nicaea to come about. And those three things historically is called the Donatist Schismatic Controversy, which is a 4th century North African schism that started in the secular community when Mansurius, a prominent member of that community, turned over certain sacred writings to the Roman occupiers. Now, you're out of the Greek occupiers under the Ptolemies. Now you're into the Roman occupiers. He turned over these sacred papers and writings to the Roman occupiers of Egypt, Syria, and Turkey against the wishes of Bishop Donatus and the Metropolitan Bishop Secundus, who advised him not to do that, to martyr himself like their predecessors before him did. But anyway, that is known in history as a Donatist Schismatic Controversy. The second thing, historical thing, that an event that caused the Council of Nicaea to come about in 325 was a donation of Constantine. Constantine at that time was the Roman occupier and ruler of Egypt, Syria, and Turkey. He himself came up with the idea that since this secular community is now split in their and have opposition among each other, just like I don't know if you know about Chicago politics during the time of Harold Washington. When Harold Washington got voted into office, our African community in Chicago was very, very strong and tight. When he died in 1987, it was split between two African candidates. And with that split in there, in the middle of that split came Richard Daley, who became the mayor of the city of Chicago. But getting back to the donation of Constantine, Constantine came up with the bright idea that it was time for them to try to get Serapis accepted in our African community, you see. So since we had that split. So that's when he came up with the bright idea of the donation of Constantine. He went into the Melkite Coptic Egyptian community. He went into the secular Coptic Egyptian community, and he found a member of that community by the name of Sylvester I. And he made him an offer, which is known in history as the donation of Constantine. The offer was this. He said, Sylvester, I will give you my empirical emblems of authority over your community, over both communities, the Melkite Copts and also the Coptic Egyptian secular community. If you can get your members, your people in the African, ancient Egyptian secular community to accept Serapis, which is Serapis is known today as Jesus the Christ. If you accept this offer I'm giving you on a temporal basis, if you can get them to accept Serapis, I will make you the head HNIC. You know what they head HNIC means. So Sylvester accepted that offer, and he said, along with this offer, Sylvester, I want you to baptize me in your community. Just make me a part of your community, and you can have all the authority over that community. I won't have anything to say about what is going on in that community. I have nothing to do because I'll be a part of it. See, that is known in history as the donation of Constantine. The third historical thing that caused the Council of Nicaea I to come about is a strong statement by Arius. Arius was a Coptic Egyptian from the secular community. After Sylvester accepted that donation of Constantine, as I just described, Arius said that Serapis was a created creature dissimilar from the father being Osiris, because Serapis now, like I mentioned before, has the attributes of Osiris. So Arius said that Serapis was a created creature dissimilar from the Father. The word dissimilar means not like the Father. A perfect creature, but a creature nevertheless. And those three things caused and brought about the Council of Nicaea I. Now, many scholars won't tell you that. I think I'm the only one out here that's saying that, and I'm saying that because from historical research and so forth and so on. And that caused the Council of Nicaea to come about, you see. So from that point, from Arius saying that in 319, all the way up until the death of Ibn al-Arabi in 1240, that's 921 years, the argument or the polemic between the two factions, the Monophysites and the Diaphysitic or the Melkite Coptic Egyptian Christians. The word Diaphysitic means a person who believes in the two natures of Christ, you see. So that's how that came about. That's my answer.
So Serapis was never firmly on the Godhead and accepted by everybody.
That's correct, because of the argument of the polemic between the two factions, two African factions. The Monophysites, which mean, the mono means one. They said that Serapis had a Osiris-like spirit, but no human nature. You see? That's the argument. You see? Where the Melkites said, the Melkite, who are Diaphysitic Christians, said that he had this image of Serapis had two natures, an Osiris-like spirit and a human nature. So the argument went on and went on until you come up to the Council of Ephesus in 431. The Council of Ephesus is the most important ecumenical council that has ever existed on planet Earth. At that council meeting, as you know, in order to have a human nature, one has to be born through the body of a female. You cannot have a human nature unless you are born through the body of a female. So at the Council of Ephesus, you see, let me go back. At the Council of Nicaea I, they took Serapis, which is a white image, of the image of Ptolemy. That's his image. The image of that dead white man on the cross is the image of Ptolemy they call Christ today. But this is what they did at the Council of Nicaea I. Now you got three deities in the African ancient Egyptian divine triad. You got Osiris, who is God and the Father. And you got Isis, who is the goddess and the mother. And you got Haru, or Horus, who is the son, the S-U-N, of Osiris and Isis. Now what they did with this white image of Serapis, which is the image of Ptolemy, like I mentioned, the Melkites went in at the Council of Nicaea I in 325. They went into the ancient African, Egyptian divine triad, and they took the S-U-N out of that, which is Horus. This is the triad is all African, and they took the S-U-N out, and they put the S-O-N in its place, this white image. So this white image of Serapis has an African father, Osiris, and an African mother, Isis. And they said that they amalgamated the two together, Serapis with Osiris. And they said when the amalgamation of the two came together, they said that this is the homogeneous creed. In other words, the homogeneous creed goes like this: God the Father. Now, God the Father is Osiris. God the Son, the S-O-N, now at the Council of Nicaea, is Serapis. The same. God the Father, God the Son, the same. You see? That's called the homogeneous creed. Today, that homogeneous creed is called the Apostles' Creed. You see? Now, so that they ended that council meeting with that being done and called themselves putting that in place, which was done by the Melkite Coptic Egyptians, which was also rejected by the secular community of the Coptic Egyptians living in the secular community. They never accept that. So the next council meeting was 56 years later, the Council of Constantinople I, 381, where the Melkites tried to get this homogeneous creed to be the creed of the Roman Empire, or the Roman government, or the Roman occupiers over there. But the Coptic Egyptians living in the secular community still rejected that. So now we come up to the Council of Ephesus in 431. The argument's still going on. No human nature. They didn't accept that. So the Melkite Coptic Egyptians, they came up with another idea. In order, like I said before, in order to have a human nature, one has to be born through the body of a female. Okay? So Serapis did not have was not human, just a created creature, created by man. Man can only create creatures because you heard the term that Jesus, the Son of Man. Okay? Man can only create creatures. He can't create anything with life in it unless he's made it with a female. And then procreation comes from that sexual union between the male and the female. But in this case, he was still a creature because he only had one Osiris-like spirit but no human nature. So the Melkites, in order to get a human nature for this Serapis, they created a creature, another created creature by the name of the Virgin Mary was created, and they gave the Virgin Mary the attributes of Isis, the mother goddess.
I was getting ready to ask you, did Serapis have a birth like Jesus in a manger or cave or something?
No. That came when the Christianity was moved out of Northeast Africa, out of the double-walled city of Constantinople, out of the world's first Christian church, the Hagia Sophia. In the 15th century, when the seat was moved into Europe, that's another history by itself. Now, don't put that in play. Don't put that in play whatsoever, because we're talking about how the tenets of Christianity was created. And I have it in my book, Historical Origin of Christianity. So let me continue, because I'm at a very crucial point that you should understand. Forget about all that.
Yes, sir.
okay? And they created,
Yes,
took Isis out of that ancient Egyptian African divine triad, and they created a creature by the name of the Virgin Mary in order for this creature, Serapis, to have a human nature. And the Melkite Coptic Egyptians also gave this created creature, the Virgin Mary, the title of Theotokos. The word Theotokos means the mother of God. And they amalgamated the two created creatures together, Serapis and Mary, in order to give Serapis a human nature. And once that amalgamation was done, the Melkite Coptic Egyptians said, speaking Greek, they said, now this is the Christos. And the Christos in English means now this is the Christ. Okay? And this is how they did that. So they went into the ancient Egyptian divine triad, and they erased two Africans out of there. The African image of Horus, the S-U-N, and put Serapis in there. They eliminated Isis, another African goddess mother, and they created the created creatures, Mary in there. And they amalgamated the two created creatures together, like I mentioned before. Now, you only have one African left. This is very important what I'm about to say. You have only one African left, and that's Osiris. That's the only African you got left. And now Osiris got a white son, who is now Christ, and he's got there's this white mother, this Virgin Mary, with the title of Theotokos, the mother of God. So what they did with what they did with Osiris is that they made him incorporeal. They made, the word incorporeal means invisible. They took him out of there. So today, they said that, this Christ has a Father who is in heaven. But now you don't see the Father anymore, do you? They call that Father God. See, that God Osiris became invisible right to this very day. So that's my answer to you.
Yeah. Well, the continuation of the Serapis today, the question I was asking you, which one has lasted longer?
Which of what?
Which one, the Serapis cult or the Jesus cult?
Serapis was eliminated at the Council of Ephesus. I just explained that to you. Serapis became Jesus. Serapis became Christ.
Okay, so he became the Christ. I understood what you said.
Yeah. So
I don't know if you understand what I said, but I'm going to move on to another question.
No, don't move on until you get this straight now. Don't move on, because there's confusion there. Christ was created from Serapis was created into the Christ at the Council of Ephesus in 431. So it was no more Serapis then. It was Christ then. You see? So that's when Christ took over in 431. So that ended the name and the life of Serapis. It was over with. So Serapis became Christ at the Council of Ephesus in 431, and it continued to be Christ all the way up until this very moment, until this very day that I'm talking to you.
Okay. So that answers my question that it never stopped. Now, let me ask you
Wait, hold it. What never stopped, Brother Akbar? What never stopped? I told you it stopped. You're going to insist. I'm telling you, it stopped at the Council of Ephesus. Don't say it continued today. Stop saying that. It ended, Serapis ended at the Council of Ephesus when the Melkite Coptic Egyptians got him a mother to have a human nature with the amalgamation of the created creature, the Virgin Mary, and the created creature, Serapis. After the amalgamation, it was over with. He became the Christ. So stop saying that.
Okay. All right. Now, let me ask you this question about what was the Nestorian church and what did they have to do? Nestorian Church.
You said a Nestorian church, or what?
Yes.
What are you saying?
Nestorian Church. Or
That's
Nestorian.
That's the Nestorian church. That came later, much later. Okay. So the word church means Christ or Christianity. That came much later. The Nestorians at the Council of Ephesus refused to acknowledge the Theotokos and the created creatures of the Virgin Mary. So they were monophysites, you see. So the Nestorian church came many years later when Christianity was moved. The seat of Christianity, which is the first seat in Northeast Africa, in Constantinople, the city of Constantinople, which is known today as Istanbul, Turkey, from the world's first Christian church ever built on planet Earth, called the Hagia Sophia. When that seat moved out of Northeast Africa, out of Constantinople, out of the church of Hagia Sophia, into Europe in the 15th century, then you have today people are practicing European Christianity. Okay? And so within the practice of European Christianity, you have Nestorian churches, you have different Jacobite churches, and so forth and so on. So, it's all done recently in the 15th, 16th, 17th century of that, in those time era.
Okay, now the Great East-West Schism between the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. What is the difference between these two, and why did they have the schism?
What year are you talking about?
I forgot to put the year down, but I'm talking about the Roman Catholic schism in the East, and when they moved, I think there was Charles I, and he was crowned by the Pope at that time.
No. Hold it.
I don't know the exact date. I'm not a historian on this.
Brother Akbar, here's what I want you to do. If you're going to ask me any question, please have the dates so I can know whether what you're saying is historically facts. Okay? All right. So
okay. Well,
I can't answer that because you don't give me no dates.
Okay. All right. Well, let me move on to where I got some dates at for you here.
Okay.
I do have some dates for you.
Okay.
Well, this is my first time with you. I hope the second time I'm very prepared with dates.
Okay.
Because, and they go down here now. The Conference of Nicaea, you already went through that. Okay, let me see. Okay. The East-West Schism, formerly dated, is at 1054 CE in the Byzantine Empire.
There's no schism in the East-West. In the 10th, you're talking about in the 11th century, which is 10-something?
Yes, it says, yes. The 11th century is 1054 CE, Christian era, in the Byzantine.
Okay. And you said what happened then?
Yes, what happened? What was that schism all about?
What schism are you talking about? Give me a description of the schism.
It says the East-West Schism, formerly dated to 1054, and I guess that's 11th century. Okay,
now what was the schism about?
It just said a schism at that time in the Byzantine Empire. I don't know if it was the church between the Roman Catholic.
Wasn't no Roman Catholics then. You don't get the Roman Catholic until listen. You don't get Roman Catholicism until the seat of Christianity is moved out of Northeast Africa, out of the double-walled city of Constantinople, out of the Church of the Hagia Sophia, the world's first Christian church. That seat was moved in the 15th century. So in 1445 is when Eugenius IV and Nicholas V began to build over the catacombs on the outskirts of Rome, what we know today as the Vatican. And they built in 1445 St. Peter's Church, known today as St. Peter's Basilica. You see? So you in the 10th century, in the 11th century, 1054, there was no schism between the East and the West. The only schism that you have between the East and the West, if you want to call it, is the Monophysites and the Melkites. That's the only schism that you had. Until that seat was moved out of there. Until the seat was moved out of Northeast Africa, out of Constantinople. And when, or you can put it another way, or when the Ottoman Empire came to be in the 14th century or 1300s.
Okay.
So the only schism that you have is between the Melkites and the Monophysites.
That's the only schism.
That's correct.
Now I'm going to ask you this one question. I don't need no dates. Could you explain who Juan Rashid is and when Islam was created, as you did in your lecture on YouTube?
You have to. I always tell people, read my book, The Historical Origin of Islam. Okay? And then in the historical origin of Islam, I lay it all out. I lay out that who today's Islam used the life and times and biography to create this non-Muhammad that is being mentioned and taught about in today's Islam. See, so in other words, you're talking about Al-Arabi, who was Muhammad Ibn Ali, a.k.a. as Ibn al-Arabi, alias Muhammad. That's who they use, the biography, to create today's Muhammad off of, and it's in my book. So you have to get my book, and you read it and study it, and then you can come back, and then you can ask me some questions. But that's my book right now.
Okay. All right. Well, we don't have too many dates for you. Astro Black, you have anything else you want to ask? Astro Black?
I'd like to ask another question, if I may.
Sure.
Oh.
Okay. Dr.
Sorry
Williams,
about that, y'all. I'm right here.
Oh.
Too late now, Brother Black. She's in there.
All right.
He called on you twice, and you was asleep.
I'll sit behind you in line.
Okay, so you after you come back. Okay, go ahead, sister.
He's scared everybody with these dates.
Okay, go ahead, sister.
Can you speak a little bit about modern day Christianity, the effect that it has on black people all around the world, especially here in North America? The reason I'm asking that is because I have some listeners that, consider themselves Christian or whatever like that, and I would like you to kind of explain the negative effects that it's having on us and what it's doing to us, and how they're worshiping this Jesus on the cross when it's not, it's fictitious Jesus. And, I just wondered if you could touch a little bit on that tonight.
Okay. Well, first thing, there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. That's number one. That is on the caption of the front page or the front cover of my book, The Historical Origin of Christianity, which has been out for 21 years. That you have to understand that. Okay, so what happened to anybody such as Christians that are calling themselves Christians today? They know nothing about Christianity. They know nothing about it because they were taught to believe in Christianity. When instead of your mother, I'm talking to the Christians. Christians, I'm not trying to take your Christianity away from you. I have no right. I want you to understand this. I have no right to take or tell you not to be a Christian. You know why? Because I didn't tell you to be one. I can only, as a historian, bring the historical facts to the table. So instead of your mother and father coming out of your mother's womb, attached to her umbilical cord, cut by the doctor to separate you from your mother, giving you a life that's still indwelling inside of you as I speak. That life that's indwelling inside of you is your individual, divine, spiritual birthright. Now, this is what they should have told you, because no human on earth was born with a religion. That's what you have to really understand, that you didn't come here with a religion. You came here with everything that you spiritually needed to sustain yourself as a human being. So in your early innocent age, your mother and father passed this disease and virus on to you that is called Christianity. And in your innocence as a child, you couldn't say, Mom, Dad, I don't want to be a Christian. So you grew up in the church, believe now. See, because all religions are kept together by one's belief and faith. But you believe what your mother and father taught you. You didn't know any better, okay? And it's not your fault. It's your fault after you hear me today, tonight. And if you still want to be a Christian, fine. You have the perfect right to do that. But you can't say nobody told me the difference. So anyway, I'm trying to explain the difference to you. So you grew up with this belief, and they took you to church, and you grew up in the church. You began to sing in the choir, and you believe all the stories that is attached to Christianity. Okay? Now, what happened and what they're doing to you, what they did to you was assassinate your spirituality, your human, natural spirituality, by introducing you to this disease and virus called Christianity. You are in the church today. You're worshiping a white man on the cross, a dead white man on the cross that don't look like you or any member of your family. Don't even look like the minister in the church that's telling you all these lies and encouraging you to believe in this foolishness. You see? So it is harmful to you. And what will happen when you have a child, you're going to pass the same disease and virus on to your children going into the future. Now, what happened to your mother and father is that your grandparents passed the disease to them so they can pass it to you. And your great-grandparents passed it to your grandparents, and so forth and so on. You see? So today, this is very detrimental to our African community. When you go into these churches today and you worship that dead white image on the cross they call Christ, you are supporting white supremacy out of ignorance. You are also supporting white superiority out of ignorance. You are also supporting black and African inferiority out of ignorance. You see? So therefore, this is what you're doing to yourself. You're harming yourself by doing that. Okay? So at this point, this is what I can say as to the effect of what this religion called Christianity is doing to our people. And this minister, he's the worst enemy in our community. He keeps encouraging our people to go into these churches to put all their belief and faith in that dead white image on that cross, and to put all their energy and faith in this Bible, which is this Bible is nothing but mythology, fiction, metaphors, and allegories. And the Bible is a book that one has to believe in. The stories in the Bible, if you don't believe in those stories, what your belief makes those stories alive. If you don't believe in the stories in the Bible becomes dead. Now remember, belief is what keeps all religions together, no matter what name of religion that you may be practicing. Belief. But belief does not give you knowledge. Faith does not give you knowledge. Okay? So you sit up in the pews of the church and you give away all of your spiritual power to that dead white image on that cross called Jesus Christ, and this Bible that is this foolish Bible that has no historical worth whatsoever, because 99 9/10 of every named character in the Bible never walked the earth as a human being. See? So you give away all your power. So therefore you're sitting among powerless people sitting in the pews of the church. That's my answer.
Great answer. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're right. Astro Black, you have something?
Yes, I'm right here with you. I had the phone muted accidentally. But thank you for bearing with me. But Dr. Williams, you, like other global African scholars in the Pan-African diaspora, have talked about ownership, autonomy, and self-determination in regards to our people and our divine destiny to grant to restore the humanity of the human race. And part of what I'm hearing also in the dates and in the historical events that you recount is in the way that the white supremacists have been very forceful and violent in the way that they try to consolidate, destroy, erase, and confiscate our spiritual and material wealth. And you talked about the establishment of the St. Peter's Basilica in Rome in 1445. And from what you have said, and also from other brothers like honorable brothers like John Hendrick Clark, I understand that the Vatican City has stores, miles and miles of underground catacombs that have our African artifacts and spiritual documents under lock and key in Rome. Is that correct?
You're correct. Absolutely. They have a Coptic Egyptian library there. They have a Coptic Egyptian museum there. They see the Church of the Hagia Sophia. Not only was it the world's first Christian church ever built in 532, finished in 537, commissioned to be built by Justinian and his wife Theodora. They commissioned African architects to design that church and African builders to build it. Now that church, the picture of that church is on the front cover of my book called The Historical Origin of Islam. That's the Church of the Hagia Sophia. But anyway, that church also was a university for hand-picked Europeans. See, after Alexander the Greek came into Egypt in 332 B.C., 805 years later they built that church, okay, for the Christ. See, Christ was created at the Council of Ephesus. And then the next, that was in 431. And the next council, that was the third council meeting. The fourth council meeting was called the Council of Chalcedon, 451, where they tried to get, the Melkite Coptic Egyptians tried to get this Christ image, a human nature, to try to stop the argument between the Monophysites and themselves, the diaphysitic Melkite Coptic Egyptians. So they came up with what is known, they tried to make this Christ by using the word Persepone. Persepone means a person. And they also came up with this word consubstantiality, which means in the Christian Trinity, a person in the Christian Trinity, this Christ. So then 81 years later, they built the Church of Hagia Sophia over in Constantinople, Turkey, known today as Istanbul, Turkey, called the Church of the Hagia Sophia. And the teaching staff in that church were all Africans. And they taught a handful of the Europeans that were allowed to come in there. Okay? But in the meantime, they had their archives was in that church. Okay? And then in the 15th century, when that seat moved out of Constantinople, out of the Hagia Sophia, into Europe after John VIII in 1439 went into Florence, Italy, at the Curia there. The word Curia means college. And he transferred the seat by relinquishing the donation of Constantine in order for it to be transferred into Europe over the catacombs on the outskirts of Rome. Okay? And they came in there and took boatloads of our ancestors, Coptic Egyptian manuscripts and books and things like that, and they housed them over in the Vatican today, in the Vatican Library and in the Vatican Museum over there. In order for an individual, now listen to this, very important. In order for an individual to go into the Vatican Library, one has to be, this is a requirement, you have to be a resident of Rome for 1 year. Number two, you have to have a letter from a recognized and accredited university to give to the Vatican librarian in order to be admitted there. And then three, you got to write down what are you looking for in this library. Four, what do you want to use it for? You see? So that's the requirements, you know, to get in there. But this, like you said, it's over there. That's my answer.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Okay. Look, we have some callers in here. I want to try to let some in. Maybe have some questions for Dr. Williams. Hold on for a minute. Caller with the last number 8998. Do you have any questions for the doctor?
No, I don't have no questions for the doctor. I just would like to thank him for the great work that he's doing. And I also would like to thank you and your guests for having him here in Philadelphia. To have him broadcast here in Philadelphia is long overdue. Hopefully we'll be able to get him here as a speaker.
Okay, well, I certainly appreciate you appreciating the work that I have been doing for the last 39 years. And that makes me feel very, very humble, and your acknowledgement of my work. Thank you so much. And if an individual wants me to come in to give lectures, you can email me at Ancient Egyptian at msn.com. I'll repeat that again. You can email me at Ancient Egyptian at msn.com. And when you email me, put your phone number there, and I'll call you back, and we can connect at that point.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
And thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, brother, for coming on. And we have another one we're going to let in here. Caller with the last 5 digits, 5899. Would you like to have the question to ask the doctor?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. May I hotel Dr. Walter Williams? This is,
may I hotel, brother?
How you doing, sir? This is Brother Minkara from California. Talked to you earlier this year around spring.
Brother who now?
Minkara.
Oh, Minkara. Okay. Okay, brother.
My question is, a lot of our people like to pride themselves on studying Champolion's decipherment of the metal netter. After talking with you and reading your books and coming to some conclusions myself, I see that the demonic and the hieratic serve different purposes regarding the metal netter, and I agree with you regarding it not being translated. But can you give basically a quick overview and contextualize the demonic language in regard to its use? And, you know, because some of our people are studying the Coptic, you know, as if it was a spoken language, and to my knowledge, that's a written language. Am I correct, sir?
Well, yes. You see, the hieratic demotic phonetic alphabet. That's what you were talking about. That's the middle section of the Rosetta Stone. You see, you can't. No one has ever heard the spoken language that our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, spoke. So you can't take an alphabet and call it a language. You can take an alphabet and write a language with it. That's what our alphabet is used for, to write sounds or to write a language. But you cannot take that alphabet and say, that's a language, you see. This is like the Arabic script is also a derivative of the hieratic demotic, ancient Egyptian phonetic alphabet. You got over there in what they call in the Middle East or Northeast Africa, you got many dialects spoken by so-called Arabs. Okay, Arabs are designated to be individuals who have embraced Islam. So that's called an Arab over there, or even one who lived in Arabia. But anyway, you have all those different dialects spoken throughout that area over there. You got over in Syria, Turkey, you got Arabia, you got Iraq, you got Kuwait, you got Iran. See, Iran is also in Northeast Africa. It's known today and called the Middle East, and you got Yemen and so forth, so on. And then you got all across North Africa, the country of Egypt. You got Tunisia, you got Libya, you got Algeria, you got Morocco, and you got Mauritania. All those are North African countries, and those people live there, speak different dialects over there. Now, but they speak to each other, but they may not understand each other's dialect. But they do have a standardized alphabet, and that is called the Arabic script. That is standardized. The Hieroglyphics is a script that was used by our ancestors, the Coptic Egyptians, after the Greeks came into Egypt, forcing the Greek language on our Coptic Egyptian ancestors. They learned the language, which is Greek language, and they applied an alphabet to it. See, the Greeks never had an alphabet, but they applied an alphabet to the Greek language. Today it is called the Greek alphabet. So when the Romans came over there, after the Greeks came in, they learned that Roman language that they known as Italian, and they applied an alphabet to that. It's called Latin. You see? So from Latin, you get English, and so forth and so on, phonetically, you see. And then that same hieroglyphic alphabet made up what is known as the Hebrew alphabet. The Hebrews, never been no Hebrews. The only place that you find Hebrews is characters in the Bible, and all those characters never walked the earth as human beings. But anyway, these people who call themselves Jews made up an alphabet for their lie that they have perpetrated on the earth and on mankind, and it's called the Hebrew alphabet. So you get all those different things. Now, Napoleon had nothing to do with the Rosetta Stone other than finding it in 1799. See, the British was occupying Egypt, and the British never allowed Napoleon to take that Rosetta Stone out of Egypt. So what he did, he made rubbings, supposedly, because he went over there with an army of forensic artisans, linguistic artisans, and copyists, and so forth and so on. So they made rubbings of that, and that's what they took back to France with them, and they distributed that throughout Western academia at that time. You see, so that's a little overview on that. And like you said, the meta-natural hieroglyphics has never been deciphered. And that's in my book on page 146. Why the meta-natural hieroglyphics has never been deciphered. And then my third book is coming out. My wife and I were writing this book called Dispelling Myths of Ancient Egypt. I'm writing an appendix on to why the meta-natural hieroglyphics has never been deciphered, and I'm talking about the Reba's principle. You see, so that's another subject. But you'll get that when my book come out, which will be out very short.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Can I get one more in?
Sure.
Yes, go ahead. Right.
Regarding Champollion and Jules Operk, is there a Jewish-French connection there, sir?
Jules Operk, are you talking about?
Yes, sir.
Jules Operk. And you asked me, was Napoleon and Jules Operk having any connection?
No. What I would say is Champollion and Jules Operk. Both of them, I noted, were Frenchmen who are credited for being linguists, while Jules Operk deciphered the so-called Sumerian text in Champollion the Meta-Netter. Is there a French-Jewish connection there?
I would say, no, that's a Western academia connection. Now, my book, which is my wife and I, we're writing, we're just cleaning up and finishing our last chapter. And the last chapter in the book is called The Sumerian Cuneiform Myth Exposed. Okay? So Jules Oppert is mentioned and wrote about in the chapter of this book that's coming out. So there's no connection between Champollion and Jules Oppert. Okay? So in order for me to explain what I'm writing, or what my wife and I we're writing, you have to read the book, because it's a very technical, highly technical, difficult subject when you get into the Sumerian and cuneiform ideology and myth, you see. So that's my answer to you.
Thank you, sir. Look forward to hearing your lectures, in the future. I'll send you a couple of emails, so, whenever you get a chance, sir, please, respond back to them with some documents that the school's providing on brainwashing us.
Okay, you say you're going to send me some?
Yes, I sent you an email, so check your email, sir, whenever you get a chance.
When did you send it?
Just before the last guest was speaking, I sent it off.
Guess what now?
I sent it off about 10 minutes ago, sir.
Oh, now, that's explaining it. Okay, it'll be on my on the computer. I'll get it then. I'll ask you. Put your phone number there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for being interested in your ancestors.
Thank you for participating, brother. Thank you for participating at Wake Up African People. We have another caller, and caller with the number 5334. I'm going to let you in here. Do you have a question for the doctor?
Yes. I have a question about the Sumerian Mesopotamian language.
What was that again now?
The Sumerian language?
Sumerian language?
Yes.
There's no such thing as a Sumerian language, simply because there's no such thing as a Sumerian. See that?
Okay,
let me tell you this. The Sumerian cuneiform, Western academia, that's a creation of Western academia. Okay? And my wife and I, we were writing about it in our book. What they did, the Western academia created the chronology of ancient Egypt, which I'm bringing out. Why? With a warning to all African scholars: do not use the chronology of ancient Egypt. To all African scholars, teachers, intellectuals, and students, do not use the chronology of ancient Egypt. Why? Because our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, never wrote a history or a chronology of themselves. Okay? It was Western academia creating a chronology for our ancestors using the Bible to do so. So now they want to create another mythology based on and using the Sumerians, created a bunch of names called Sumerian, and they call them a people, using and created the cuneiform to parallel the history of ancient Egypt. That's what they're doing it for. So don't fall for it. When my book come out, you can read it and explain to you in a very simplistic form.
Wow.
Do you have any more questions?
Well, kind of besides this, or kind of off of the same question, that means that they made up the cuneiform and Zachariah Stitchian and all those Zionist Jews, so to call them. They made it up kind of to usurp African history.
Well, they tried to parallel. See, they created the chronology of ancient Egypt. Now, so they created another so-called chronology, Mesopotamia. That can only be found in the Bible. You cannot find it on the planet of human beings where humans live. So they created this chronology of Mesopotamia to parallel the created chronology of ancient Egypt that they created back in the 19th century. You see, so you read the book, and I'm bringing all that out. It's very plain.
I will definitely be getting the book.
Okay.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams.
And thank you for calling.
You're much welcome, brother. Okay, we have another caller here. We're going to let them in with the area code, last 4 digits, 2828. 2828, do you have a question for the doctor? Hello? Phone number 951.
Yes, sir.
756.
Hotep.
Yeah. Hotep, my brother.
I just had a few words I'd like to say to Baba Walter Williams.
Yes.
Go ahead, my brother.
My name is Rahe Rule. I just wanted to let you know I'm just so grateful for your works. Your works has done so much for me personally. And I've also seen that from experience, there are a lot of people that are caught up in religion, and they really haven't studied your work, and they haven't done they haven't done the field work of checking the resources that you put out in your work. So they say a lot of real ignorant things as regards to your work, but I'm one of them that stands firm on your work, and you have no idea, brother, how many heated arguments that, I've been in due to the work, and I just wanted to thank you and your wife for putting your heart and your dedication into that work, and it's well appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You have just paid me for all the 39 years of research that I've been doing over the 39 years. So you gave me my pay. Thank you so much.
And the last thing is we also have a show called Feet on the Ground on TalkShoe, and we would also like to have you on as a guest.
Okay. You got my email address?
Yes, I do, brother.
All right. So when you email me, ancientegyptian@msn.com, put your name and your phone number there, and I'll get back to you, and we can hook up.
Okay. And I actually do have one last question. Okay. What do you feel, brother, about those that attach themselves to communities or religion, and some people that use your work and try to take credit for your work, or those that try to use your work without having the proper background or understanding or doing the research, and they use it and take it down, completely use it in a wrong path. It's just completely wrong. It's just, how do you feel about that?
I don't care for that. You're talking about Ray Higgins.
I'm talking about Ray Higgins is one of them, but there's also some members of the House of Conscious, of the Conscious community that do it as well.
Yeah. Okay. I don't care for taking other people's work and not giving them credit for it. See, I've been out here for 39 years researching, spending a lot of my money doing it, going to different lectures, buying books, and doing things like that. Doing that not for me, but for my African community, because I love you guys and women in the African community. So I'm doing it because I love you. So I'm doing it out of love. I'm not doing it out of money, for money. I don't make a living giving lectures or being on the radio shows and books. I don't make a living off my books. See, I've been in business for over 50 years. So I know how to make money or whatever the case might be. But so I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I love you. So if they take my stuff and my information, they're going to get hung up on it. I'm going to tell you why, because they can't back up the things that I'll be talking about.
That is true.
See? So Ray Higgins is one of them. See, I don't know who the rest of them are. Who you have any names other than Ray Higgins?
That would be a conversation we would have to have off the line.
Right,
like
okay.
I said, if you can come onto our show, and I will email you, we can go over that with my panel, and hopefully we can get some of those who have, negative views towards your work, or those that try to use your work and claim it as their own, that we can go over that, and, we can put them in their proper place of miseducation.
Okay, we'll do that then. And thank you so much for calling, young man. I certainly appreciate you and what you're trying to do.
Thank you, Baba Williams. We love you.
Love you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
fam,
you,
for letting me
brother.
speak to the
Mayat Hotep.
Hotep.
Yeah.
Thank you, family.
Hotep.
Mayat Hotep.
Yeah, we got another caller we're gonna let in here. The caller with 9763. Caller 9763. You're in. Would you like to ask a question?
Before the with me?
Yes, sir.
All right. My Hotep, Barbara Williams.
Mayat Hotep, young man.
My Hotep to the panel. I'm listening. Very good discussion. I became aware of your works through YouTube. Maybe 7, 8 years ago, being someone who's 37, and you've been doing research longer than I've been alive. I'm just, I'm just happy to, get the chance to say that I thank you for the work that you've done. I've never been one who was part of the religious. My family never had me into it, but it's good to have someone like you to put out solid information on Africa, being that I'm someone who's homeschooling my child.
Good.
And to be able to have someone that has information like yours is great. And the one question that I have is about your museum. And do you have something in the works where you're going to be able to start to put out some of the things the artifacts that you do have, or is there some way that people could see them?
Well, here's the thing about it, young man. I brought forth the Ancient Egyptian Museum in Chicago. The doors opened March 11, 1990. And I bought a mansion, and I remodeled that mansion and made it into a museum. And I kept the doors open for 11 years from my own income. And I closed that museum in 2001. My wife and I closed in 2001. And so I have all the artifacts here. So what we're going to do is to make a picture album, a picture album of ancient Egyptian artifacts and sculptures and paintings and so forth and so on. That's the future coming.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my answer to you.
All right. Well, again, I'm just grateful to be able to hear the wisdom coming out of your mouth right now. Just to be, someone who, like I said, hasn't even been alive long enough to being able to be around and see the research that you've already seen, but to now have an understanding of some of the work that you've done is just great for me, and I'll be looking forward to picking up your pieces of literature that you're putting out.
Okay, I certainly appreciate you being interested in our ancestors and our ancient Egyptian ancestors and our African community. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And
okay,
thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. And we have another caller we're going to let in here. Right here. Caller 5870. Would you like to ask the question?
Yes, Brother Akbar, and Mayat Hotep to you, Dr. Williams.
Mayat Hotep to you, young man.
I called earlier on 8998. I didn't get a chance to say really what I wanted to because I was so excited. To me, your work is historical. I've read both of your books.
Thank you.
And that's something that you really have to study. It's not a books that you could just read and think that you have it. You got to read those books over and over again to really feel what's being said to you.
You're right, absolutely. I put it on the back. Read this book more than once in order to internalize the message in the book. You're right.
Yes, sir. And I'm beginning to internalize it And that's why I say it's revolutionary, because it could change the complexion of our condition here in America. And to me, you and Dr. Amos Wilson are, in my book, two of the most prolific scholars that was ever produced on this planet for us.
That is really, man, you don't know how that make me feel humble. Wow, that's, mister. Oh, man.
And let me tell you one thing, Professor, and I know I can talk, but you had me shook up with them dates. I ain't going to tell you no lie. Because a lot of people, we don't use the dates the way we're supposed to be using the dates. And we need to start learning. We need to start learning these dates so we can tie this stuff in. Because when you go in front of these people, if you don't have dates, then your argument is dead from the beginning. Right. And I myself, I apologize. I will never be caught with my pants down again when I have you on my show. I'm gonna have every date that you can think. Because I ain't gonna tell you no lie. I didn't know how to approach. I didn't really know how to approach your scholarship because it's so tight. You know, your scholarship is just impeccable. I mean, there's nobody out there doing it like you. You know, and like I said, it's. Let me tell you, this brother right here that just come on, he's a good friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
As soon as I got you on the show, he's the first person I called when I got you on the show, because he always talks about bringing you to Philly. We got to bring you to Philly. People need to hear this. But I told a guy, I was explaining to a guy just yesterday about the Jesus, the Serapis thing, and he ran after UNIA and said he was never coming back because I said it was never no Jesus. I mean, this stuff, I mean, it's people that's just not ready to hear that their Lord and Savior that that was created by, the powers that be is not real. And and we just want to let you know we want to have you on again and again and again until we get this pat ourselves, because I need to read your book over and over again.
Are you recording these things? Are you recording these shows, Brother Akbar?
Yes, they're recorded, and people going to hear these shows are going down in infamy. I mean, these stay out there. And
I'm glad you're recording this, because I've been part of a whole lot of information, and I need you to send me a copy of tonight's show.
Okay, no problem. I'll get it and I'll send it to you. And I want to let another caller in, because I want to give everybody a chance to see to ask you any questions. It's a lot of them calling in here now.
That's okay. Let as many as you can in. Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Caller 3813. Would you like to ask a question to the doctor?
No, actually, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to call and thank you, Dr. Williams, for the information and the research that you put in. And I am a former Ray Hagen student.
Okay, I'm glad you said former.
Oh, well, it's a lot of us that were former.
Right. I get that all over the country now.
And I just wanted to get online, and I'm just so grateful that I'm able to even thank you. Unfortunately, a lot of our serious researchers are no longer around. So I'm just honored to be able to thank you, and that's all I wanted to do. I will pick up your book. I mean, I will just get your book, and then I'll go from there. I have no other questions. I'll listen to you.
Where are you from? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from St. Louis.
St. Louis. Oh, I just left there this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, I was there this weekend. I had 2 stops there. I lectured at 2 places there.
You lectured.
I was at 54, 14.
Family?
Huh?
You were at the Better Family?
Is that 54 on Page Street?
You got to be kidding me.
I was there just
on the security. I did not know that you were the speaker.
I was there. They had big posters of me with my picture and everything there. 5414 South, not South, but 5414 Page, St. Louis. I just left there Sunday morning. Yeah, we came in there Friday and left Sunday.
Wow.
And
I'm aware.
Yeah.
Lord, I did not know that you were the speaker.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry that you missed it. Well, they said they're going to bring me back.
All right. I'll catch you when you come back.
Okay. And thanks so much, young lady, for calling. I certainly appreciate you appreciating the works that I'm doing. Thank you so much.
And thank you for tuning in to Wake Up African People. All right, we're going to let this other caller in. Caller 2828 with the last 4 digits. Caller 2828. Do you have a question for the great doctor? Caller 2828. Okay. I guess that one doesn't have anything to say. Okay, we're going to go down here. We have more. Okay. All right, caller 9446. 9446. Do you have anything you would like to ask the doctor, the great doctor?
Yes, Hatepu. Hello, everyone. Great show.
May I hotep, young man?
Thank you. How are you doing today?
Fine as usual. How are you doing?
Great. I appreciate it.
That's great. Where are you calling from?
Kentucky.
Where are you calling from?
Actually, Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay,
Yes,
you're breaking up on me, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm calling from Kentucky. My question is, I'm interested in your thoughts on the Philistines and how do they tie into the Egyptian history.
Okay. First place, the Philistines can only be found in the Bible. The Philistines are non-humans, never walked the earth as human beings, just biblical characters. That's it. So that would be my answer to you. Don't fill your mind with anything coming from the Bible. Nothing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Take the Bible to the nearest refuge can and throw it in and get it out of your life. The quicker you can do that, you can clear a way for the truth based on facts to come in. There's no Philistines. Never been a Philistine. That's mythology. Biblical mythology at that.
How about ancient Israel? Your thoughts on ancient Israel?
There's no such thing as an ancient Israel. The only place that you find Israel is in the Bible. The Canaanites, the Israelites, and so forth and so on. Those are biblical names. See, this is where the confusion come in. Get that out of your life. You see, people ask me, who is a Jew? The Jew is created in the minds of an individual who believe in the stories written about Jews, Canaanites, and Israelites. If you believe that the Israelites really walked this earth, then you make them alive with your own personal humanity, your own personal spiritual power that you have. That's the reason why the Christians sitting in the pews of a church, believing in a dead white man on the cross called Jesus Christ and believing in this Bible who is made up of mythology, fiction, lies, metaphors, and allegories, they make those stories in the Bible come alive, see? Now, these stories you have kept these stories alive, like the Philistines and what you're telling me now, the Israelites and so forth. You kept that alive. So I'm telling you now, it never happened. Take it out of your life. Get it out of your life.
I have another question.
Okay.
The ancient Egyptians, this might be a strange question. Did they believe in a flat earth or a round earth? I know that might be out of left field. But.
Well, see, no one can answer that question.
Yes, sir.
Because, see, first place, it's very little that's known about the ancient Egyptians. Okay? Now, there are things that are concocted and gleaned from different things. And they say, well, this is what the ancient Egyptians did. But see, basically, no one knows how the ancient Egyptians built the Great Pyramid. That is a mystery of life. It's a mystery of mankind. See, no one can tell you whether they believe that the earth was round or flat. So that would be my answer to you.
Okay, sir. One more question about the meta-netter. Yeah, I'm starting to get the feeling that the Arabic language and the Hebrew language and a lot of language. How about the Phoenician language? Is meta-netter a language or is it an alphabet? Is it a hieroglyphic?
Meta-netter is a hieroglyphic symbol. It's a pictorial symbol.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
And those pictorial symbols has never been deciphered.
Okay.
In order for you to understand and decipher those symbols, one has to know the meaning of a symbol. You cannot put an alphabet to a symbol. You have to know the meaning of the symbol before you can explain it. It's like when you went to get your driver's license. You were tested in three things: rules of the road, eyesight, and symbols. When they got to the symbols part, they didn't ask you to put an alphabet to it. They asked you to explain the meaning of the symbol. If you couldn't explain the meaning of the symbol, you failed the test. See? Yes, so now you're talking about Philistines. You're back to the Bible again. Get anything that's in the Bible. Just throw the Bible out of your life. All over again. Okay? I'm just starting to be honest with you. It's not going to be confused the rest of your life. That's what that Bible.
Dr. Williams,
yeah.
I'm telling you, I told a guy that yesterday. He ran out the hall and said he was never coming back no more because that's all they had is the Bible. When you tell them that nothing in the book is relevant, it's just all fairy tales, some people can't handle that because their whole thing is to believe that something's going to come save them from this vicious-ass white man.
Well, there are certain questions that you have to ask people like that. You see? Mm-hmm. And that's how you can disarm them from the Bible and win your argument.
Mm-hmm. Doctor, are you making an attempt to decipher the hieroglyphs?
What were you saying now?
Possible? Are you making an attempt to decipher the hieroglyphs? Or
no, the
is
only
it
way
possible?
that you can. No, I'll be wasting my time doing that because I'm going to tell you why. In order for you to know the meaning of those pictorial symbols drawn by our ancestors, ancient Egyptians, one will have to ask the ancient Egyptian what he or she who drew those symbols, what they meant for them to be. And they're not around to ask that question. So have you read my book, The Historical Origin of Christianity? Young man? Huh?
No, sir.
Well,
no, sir, but I will.
All right, find my book. Go on Amazon or wherever you go into an African bookstore, and you can get my book. And on page 146, I have an appendix section in there. It's entitled "Why the Meta-Netter Hieroglyphics Has Never Been Deciphered," and you can understand what I'm saying there. And then my third book coming out, I'm writing an extension of that because I'm going through the rebus principle of what the Germans did. And so forth and so on. Yeah.
Okay. So let me say this, Dr. Williams. Like this new comedic thing that's going on now, people are really turned it into a religion. And they're, the names they're calling themselves Amenhotep and all this stuff. They don't understand that this is just ideals that came from the white man. It's they don't even know if the name sounded like that. I mean, do you think that any of these names are correct in the sounds that they're giving us to make these and form these names?
I would say some are, and then some are made up, and some are, used for different reasons, different purposes. But overall, I'll say some are, but you cannot bring forth a chronology of ancient Egypt using those names.
How would you say about Sheikh Anta Diop, him saying that he used the Wolof language to translate the Meta-Netter and that he connected it to the Wolof language in Africa?
Okay, that's first place. He cannot say that simply because he has never heard the sound of the spoken language of our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, to do that, to have a comparison. How are you going to compare something you never heard the sound of? So I disagree with Sheikh Anta Diop, and I like him. But I disagree with him. So I would say he's wrong on that.
Doctor, would you say that their letters would probably be the same as some of our letters in the languages we have today?
Well, you can't say that because you have to. No one has ever heard the sound of the spoken language that our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, spoke to make a comparison. See, so you don't know. You see?
Mm.
And
a lot of people are studying this metal netter and learning it. They got classes, even at Temple University. They got people teaching this stuff, and for these people to find out that it's all another sham from the European academia, it really busts a bubble.
And, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about it. I had to bust your bubble. I'm sorry. I busted your bubble. Believe in Jesus Christ or the Prophet Muhammad or Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Sarah, and all those other characters that's named in the Bible. I busted many bubbles. But I had to bring
even Taharka, right?
Who?
Taharka, because they say he's mentioned in the Bible.
That's all. That's in the chronology of ancient Egypt. Never been no Taharka.
Yeah, but it's never been a Taharka. Yeah, because a lot of this. That's why I don't take on a Kemetic name because of your work. Because I read your first book, but it's been a long time since I referenced it and went over it or read it again. But I've seen your videos on YouTube, and that's why I never really took a name because when I first seen you in that video and you said that the hieroglyphics has never been deciphered, and I thought about it. And how did they decipher it? And they don't know what the sounds are. What the people taught, no vowels, no consonants, no nothing.
Right.
How can
they never heard. You have to ask the ancient Egyptians. These symbols that you have drawn, what do they mean? And they wasn't around for you to ask that.
Mm-hmm.
But then, in order for the Europeans to take our African ancestors, the ancient Egyptians' culture and civilization, and institutionalize it, he had to say that he deciphered the hieroglyphics.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can go from that point. See, but that's all fabricated. That's all lies. You see, So, in order for you to know the truth, and the truth they said makes you free, you have to know the truth. Simple as that. This is
the truth. Know it. And you know something, Professor? I don't know what's the worst, this Egyptology thing or the fake dinosaur thing. I mean, these people just keep making up all kinds of fake history. It's shameful.
Well, don't go for the dinosaur thing. Yeah. if you look at the dinosaur and use your own common sense, the dinosaur's got two arms, right?
Yeah.
How can he feed himself? Those arms don't reach up to his mouth.
Yeah. Even the guy who created the first one was in my home state, New Jersey. He even said it was a hoax. That's the biggest hoax that's been running on people for years.
Oh, they do that. See, you got to be suspicious of Western academia, and this is what we're exposing. My wife and I are exposing this in our third book to dispelling myths of ancient Egypt. You see, there's no Socrates, no Plato, and Aristotle, and Herodotus. None of those names ever existed on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
we still have some more time here, like two more minutes. I want to let one more call in for a quickie, okay?
Okay.
Hey, thanks, y'all. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, brother.
Y'all have a great evening. I'll be listening. Thanks, Doctor, for your answer.
Thank you so much for calling. Where are you calling from?
Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky. Okay.
Thanks again.
All right, and thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
caller 3271. You'll be our last caller we letting in. Do you have any questions? 3271. Oh, I don't think they don't have any questions. Well, what I want to do is I want to thank you again, and I know my hostess and host, thank you for coming on, and we're going to be very much more prepared for you. And I think a lot of information went out, and like I said, I'm going to have my dates together for you this next time.
Okay, you're going to be ready for me.
I'm going to be
Hello?
Hey, I'm going to be hitting you from dates everywhere.
Okay. I better prepare myself. Better get my guns and things ready. You're all going to ambush me.
You made the truth. You made the truth, Doctor. Had to go back in your book again.
Oh wow! Okay, that's wonderful. That is really wonderful. Boy, I'm going to tell you something, Brother Akbar and the great sister there, and Brother Black, and all of you all. I certainly have a ball for the 2 hours I've been on with you guys, and I appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you very much, and we're hoping to have you on in the future. We're trying to get Dick Gregory. We shooting for Dick Gregory. We're gonna call Dick Gregory tomorrow. We're hoping to have him on in the future. You know, and we want to get all our elders. We want to get all our elders.
Okay. That's my
Yes, Dr. Williams, thank you for graciously coming here and blessing us with your presence, and we'll be in touch. Definitely.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Williams. I'm going to make sure I purchase your books and read them as well.
Okay, that'll be great then. I mean, there's a lot of information in those books, but you got to study them.
Yes, I'll make sure I do that.
Yeah, you got to study those books, because not reading them won't, because you miss a lot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Anyways, I certainly appreciate all of you all. And I really had a ball. I'll put it like that.
Thank you, sir.
Being on air with
I'm
you
glad
guys.
you had a good time with us. And we had a good time with you. Always beautiful to tap the knowledge of your elders that's out here giving up the real knowledge.
Okay. Well,
always.
I try. And
you're doing a good job, sir.
Okay, thank you again. And send me that tape,
and good night. And
right.
Good night, everybody who came and listened to Wake Up African People. This is the Truth Doctor. We're going to have the doctor on again. Me and him negotiate for another time. And we thank you for tuning in to the controversial station, Wake Up African.